Okay, like I said, you should have this, what I have here in yellow. It's our standard forms. It's our equation of asymptotes. It tells me what A, B, and C are. It tells me how to find C squared if I have A and B, that sort of thing. So given this information, you guys can tell me a lot. A lot. First of all, what do you know? What is the center? It's the center of this hyperbola. What's being added and subtracted to x and y? Nothing. So it's 0, 0. Okay? You should also identify at the very beginning, what kind of a hyperbola is this? Horizontal or is it vertical? Horizontal. It's horizontal. That means when I move to find my foci and my vertices, am I going to be moving left and right, or am I going to be moving up and down? Left to right. So what's important there is you're going to be adding and subtracting to what value? The x value. Very good. That's important to remember. All right, so once we do that, now we can look and say, okay, well, what am I looking at? Well, I know that 9, whatever that first denominator is, that's your a squared, and I know that my second denominator is b squared. So I can already identify my a, b, and then I can figure out c here. A is what?
9.
Nope. A is 3. What's b? 5. And then how do we find c? Perfect. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. Well, I know that a squared is 9. I know that b squared is 25. So c squared equals 34. Take the square root. And c equals the square root of 34. Agreed? Okay. Questions on that? You guys all right? So they asked for what did they ask for? Vertices, foci, and asymptotes. So vertices, I write this down. When I worked this out, I wrote this. I said vertices, and then I circled the letter what? A. The A value tells me how far left and right or up and down my vertices are from the center. Since it's a horizontal, we're going to be adding and subtracting to the x value of the center. So my vertice, if I subtracted 3 from 0, it would be at negative 3, 0. And if I added 3, it'd be at positive 3, 0. Anybody have any questions about that? No? All right, foci. Foci, I'm going to circle the C value. Our C value is the distance from the center to the foci. So I know here, since I'm moving left and right, it's a horizontal. I'm going to be adding to the x value of our center. So it's going to be at negative square root 34, comma 0, and at positive square root 34, comma 0. Questions? Everybody's okay with that? Yes? Yeah. All right, then we talk about asymptotes. Well, this is a horizontal, so let's go up to our little cheat sheet. My asymptote, the equation of the line is y equals k plus or minus b over a. So y equals k plus or minus b over a times x minus h. We already have all of that information. You have your h and your k, you have your b and your a. So just fill it in. The k of my center is 0, plus or minus b is 5 over 3 times x minus 0. From here, guys, you just use your algebra skills. This is two different lines here. 0 plus and 0 minus, whatever. Obviously, x minus 0, this is just x. So it's y equals 5/3 x. And it's also y equals negative 5/3 x. Those are your asymptotes. Questions? 3 is a little different. Why is 3 different? Tell me some things about 3 that you notice.
There's a 4.
Okay, there's a 4. That means the center's not at 0, 0. Good. What else do you notice?
They're reversed.
It's reversed. It starts with y, correct? Mm-hmm. So that means this is a vertical. This is a vertical hyperbola, which means my center, my vertices, and my foci move up and down. So what am I going to be adding and subtracting to in this case? The y. Very good. That's important to remember, guys. So now the rest of this is cake, right? Where's my center? At negative 4, 0. Remember, H is with your X, K is with your Y. It is reverse. Very good. So this is my H, this is my K. All right, good. So let's identify our A, our B, and our C. A squared is 16. So what is A? 4. Good. B squared is 64. So what is B? What is it? 8. 8, okay. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Well, I know that A squared is 16 and B squared is 64. So C squared equals 80. Take the square root. And C equals, well, 80, guys, is the same as 16 and 5, right? So it's 4 root 5. Good. So now we're going to identify all the stuff. We're going to identify the vertices, the foci, and the asymptotes. So remember, vertices goes with what value? A. Think about it. Remember, we're adding and subtracting to what part of our center? Since it's a vertical, you're adding and subtracting to what? The Y. Good. So my vertices are going to be at -4. If I add 4 to 0, I get +4, right? And then I have -4. If I subtract 4 from 0, I get -4. There's my vertices. If you need to draw yourself a picture, draw yourself a picture. My foci goes with the letter C. Again, we're adding and subtracting to the Y value. So it's going to be -4. Well, if I add 4 root 5 to 0, I get +4 root 5. If I subtract 4 root 5, I'm at -4 root 5. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we need to find our asymptotes. Well, asymptotes, asymptotes. This is a vertical. So just check real quick which equation goes with vertical. It's A over B. So we have Y equals K plus or minus A over B times X minus H, right? All right, so fill that in. What's the K value of my center? 0. Plus or minus, what's A? 4 over 8 times X minus what? -4, so X plus 4. Y'all with me? Okay, so this is 0, plus or minus, whatever. So I have plus or minus, what's 4 over 8, same as? 1/2, X plus 4. So split this up now, so you don't make any silly mistakes. This is 1/2 times X plus 4, and this is also -1/2 times X plus 4. So when I distribute here, I get Y equals 1/2 X plus what? What's 4 times 1/2? 2. Good, Miss Carver. And then over here, when I distribute, I get Y equals -1/2 X, what? -2. Good, Kennedy. Let me answer that on video. Tomorrow's quiz is multiple choice, 10 questions. You're not going to have the whole class period. It will be timed. But if you get to this point right here, and then you can pick out your answer, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Now, when you guys go to do this one, number 2, your A and your B, well, I covered it up. Your A and your B are a little, they have radicals in them. That's okay, though. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make it like so much harder or anything like that. They just have radicals, so you got to pay attention to it. I have enough time. I think I'm going to do both of these just to make sure we're on the same page with these. What do I have to do? As soon as I see a problem like this, I go, oh, man, I have to do what? Complete the square. This has actually become kind of fun. Keep your X's together and your Y's together. Miss Carver's laughing at me. So I have 9x squared minus 18x plus the box, right? Yes? Yeah. Okay. And then I have minus 4y squared plus 16y plus the box. And then what am I doing with 43? Yep, we're going to add it to the other side. Just move it over. So first thing we want to do is we want our x squareds and our y squareds to have a +1 coefficient. So what can I take out of both 9 and 18. Take out that 9. So I'm left with x squared minus 2x plus the box. What can I take out of negative 4y squared and a positive 16? Negative 4, good. So I'm left with y squared minus what? 4y plus the box. Still equal to 43. So now we go through the completing the square process. Negative 2 divided by 2 gives me negative 1. So I have my 9. What does my parenthesis look like? X minus 1 squared. And then when I square negative 1, I get a positive 1, right? So 9 times 1 is 9. Same exact thing here. I have minus 4 times. Well, let's complete the square. Negative 4 divided by 2, negative 2. So my parenthesis, my binomial is y minus 2 quantity squared. When I square negative 2, I get 4. So a negative 4 times 4 is minus 16. So guys, simplify the right-hand side. What's 43 plus 9 minus 16? Close, Pablo, close. All right, is this the standard form of a hyperbola? It's close. What do I need to do? Everything by? Perfect. So this becomes x minus 1 squared over 4, yeah? Minus y minus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. Now I stopped here on my answers because that's all they were asking us to do. But Miss Boyd went ahead, so you'll see. You can identify a lot of stuff here, guys. What is the A value? 2, good. What is the B value? 3. What is my center? 1, 2, good. What kind of a hyperbola is this? Horizontal. That means when I try to find my foci and my vertices, I'm going to be adding and subtracting to what part of the center? Good. All right, let's get over here. I want to do this one with y'all too. This is an easy one, but you could make it harder than it is. So let's look at it. We want to keep everything together, yes? So I'm going to take this negative 16y and I'm going to scoot it over here. So I have negative 9x squared plus 16y squared minus 32y equals 128. You guys okay with me leaving 128 over there? We're going to need to move it over there anyways. What do you notice about this problem that's different from the last one? There's only one x. It's an x squared. So you don't have to, quote unquote, complete the square here because there's no x to the first power. So you can just leave that. We're going to leave 9x squared out in front here. We're going to complete the square over here. What can I take out of 16 and negative 32? I could take out a 16, right? So I have plus 16, and then I have y squared minus 2y plus the box equals 128. So I still have my negative 9x squared here. If I complete the square, negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1, yes? So let me write this a little lower. 9x squared plus 16 times y minus 1 squared. Negative 1 squared is 1, so 16 times 1 is 16. What's 128, ladies and gents? Plus 16. 144. Good. Is this a hyperbola in standard form? It's close. What do I need to do? Divide everything by 144. So I'm left with negative x squared over 16. 144 divided by 9 is 16. Plus y minus 1 squared over 9 equals 1. Is this a hyperbola in standard form? No. I got to switch it, right? I should have a negative in front of here, correct? So if I switch these two, I have y minus 1 squared over 9, not equals, minus x squared over 16 equals 1. What kind of a hyperbola is this one? Vertical. Good. Y's first. What's my A value? 3. Great. What is my B value? 4, good. What's the center?
0, 1.
Oh, Pablo, great job. 0, 1. Don't doubt yourself. You did good. You're about to change your answer. Don't do that. Everybody okay at home? Guys, this stuff is fairly easy. I know it's been a while since we've done it, but I want to run through a couple of these so you guys understand. Tomorrow on your quiz, there will not be a problem that gives you an equation and says, find everything. I've told you this 1,000 times. It's going to say, here's the equation. What is the maximum or minimum value? Here's the equation. What's the range? Here's the equation. Identify the vertex. Tell me what the X-intercepts are. So you guys have to figure out what they're looking for. So that's why I'm giving these problems. We're just doing it all. So let's look at this one. If you draw yourself a little picture, this is how I went through and worked all of them out. If you draw yourself a little picture, you can tell yourself a lot of information. This is a negative parabola, correct? It's a negative because there's a negative in front. That means it opens down. All right, that doesn't tell me anything about my vertex. I just know I'm going to have an ordered pair. My axis of symmetry is always x equals. My max or min, what is that point right there? Is that the maximum or the minimum? Maximum. It's the highest that's going to go, and I know it's going to be at the y part of the vertex. What is the domain for all of these parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. Since this is a negative parabola, does it exist from negative infinity to the y part of your vertex, or is it from the y part of your vertex up to infinity? Negative to the y part. I don't know what the y part is yet, but I know that that's every negative parabola is negative infinity to the y part of the vertex. If it's a positive, it's y part of the vertex to infinity. I cannot just look at this and tell the x-intercepts, but I can look at it and tell me the y-intercept. 16. So 0, 16. If that's a multiple choice question and I tell you 16, 0, please don't pick it. Y-intercept is when x is 0. So you really only have to do 2 things algebraically to find the rest of these answers. One is we have to use our little x equals negative b over 2a. That's going to give me the x part of my vertex and my axis of symmetry. So I'm going to say, okay, well, b is 8, so I have negative 8 over 2 times negative 1. Negative 8 over negative 2 gives me thank you, positive 4. So I know that my vertex is at 4 comma something. I know my axis of symmetry is at x equals 4. Now I'm going to take this value of 4 and I'm going to plug it back into my equation to find y. So y equals negative 4 squared plus 8 times 4 plus 16. 4 squared is 16. That negative is on the outside, so it's negative 16 plus 32 plus 16. What's negative 16 plus 32? 16 plus 16 is 32. I'm not asking you to graph this, guys. So my vertex is at 4 comma 32. Where is the maximum or minimum value?
32.
At y equals 32. What is the top part of my range, the highest that this parabola goes? 32. We used one tiny little formula and we have everything filled out except for the last thing. How do you find x-intercepts? You plug in 0 for y. We're going to factor. Negative x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 0. All right, if I'm going to factor this, I don't like to start with a negative. So if I take that negative out, you guys agree I'm left with x squared minus 8x minus 16 equals 0? Are there factors of negative 16 that'll multiply to give me negative 16 but add to give me a negative 8? No, right? 4 and 4, I know you guys are like, well, I have 4 times 4 is 16, and 4, but negative 4 and negative 4 gives you a positive 16. So we can't factor this. So if we can't factor, what do we have to use? The quadratic formula. A equals negative 1, B equals 8, and c equals 16. Now, when I use the quadratic formula, if I come out and I have a negative underneath the square root, what does that mean about my intercepts? It's imaginary. That means there are none. All right? But work it out. X equals, if you don't remember the quadratic, let's write it down, please.
Wait, so would you just stop?
Nope.
No, you can't.
Do you know if it's negative or not yet?
Wasn't the A negative?
That doesn't matter, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Always work it out to see what happens underneath the radical. So I have negative b, so negative 8, plus or minus b squared, so squared, minus 4 times a is negative 1, times c is 16, all over 2 times negative 1. Let's simplify. Negative 8 plus or minus 8 squared is 64. Negative 4 times negative 1 is 4, and 4 times 16 is 64, all over negative 2. So this is negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 128 over negative 2. Can I stop here and say, oh, it's imaginary underneath the radical? No, it's not. It's going to be a gross number, but it's not. It's definitely not negative. I can break 128, guys, up into 64 times 2. Square root of 64 is 8, correct? So this is the same as negative 8 plus or minus 8 square root of 2 over negative 2. Now, a lot of you guys make mistakes when you're simplifying here, because there's a negative on the bottom, and then I don't know what to do here. If I were you, okay, if we still have questions about how to do this, I would split it up. Right now, I would split this up and I'd say negative 8 over negative 2 plus 8 radical 2 over negative 2. And I'd split it up into negative 8 over negative 2 minus 8 radical 2 over negative 2. This way you can see the signs a little better. A negative divided by a negative is a what? Positive. So this is 4. I have a positive and a negative, which is what's going to be what is my answer going to be here?
Negative.
Minus, correct, negative. So this would be negative. 8 divided by 2 is 4 square root of 2. Over here, x equals, negative divided by negative is a positive. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So this is 4 square root of 2. So to write this, obviously it's multiple choice. But if you were to see this written, it would be 4 minus 4 root 2, comma 0. 4 plus 4 root 2, comma 0. You could also write 4 plus or minus 4 root 2, comma 0. Same thing. But again, it's multiple choice, so you guys can just kind of look at it and figure it out.
Miss Meadows?
Yes, ma'am. All right, you guys want me to do another one of these, or are we good? Pablo said, we good. Would you like me to do another one? I'm gonna, real quick. I just love them so much. Just kidding. I'll do a positive one. So we can look again. Look, watch to see all of the stuff that we can answer without even really doing any work. Okay, this is a positive parabola. I know it's positive because x squared is positive. So that means this point right here, my vertex, is that going to be a max or a min? It's a minimum. I know it's going to be at y equals something. I know my axis of symmetry is at x equals. What is the domain? Negative infinity to positive infinity. What is the range going to be? Is it negative infinity to the y part of the vertex? Or is it the y part of the vertex to positive infinity?
Y part.
Yep, y part of the vertex, which we don't know yet, to positive infinity. I can't look at this and just tell you the x-intercept, but I can look at it and tell you the y. Yep, 0, comma, negative 2. So now let's find our vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Negative 6 over 2 times 3. 6 over 6 equals 1. So my vertex is at 1 comma something. My axis of symmetry is at x equals 1. So now I'm going to say, okay, well, y equals 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 minus 2. You guys with me? Okay, so 1 squared is 1, so 3 minus 6 minus 2. What's 3 minus 6? Minus 2 gives me negative 5. So my vertex is at 1, negative 5. My minimum is at y equals negative 5. My range goes from negative 5 to infinity. So the only thing I have left to do is find the x-intercepts. So we say 3x squared minus 6x minus 2 equals 0. Always try to factor first. 3 times negative 2. Are there factors of negative 6 that multiply to give us a negative 6, but add to give us a negative 6?
Yeah. Wait.
No. Oh, so we have to do the quadratic formula. So x equals negative 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared minus 4 times a is 3 times c is negative 2 all over 2 times 3. Negative negative gives me positive 6 plus or minus 36. Well, 4 times 3 is negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times negative 2 is plus 24 over 6. 6 plus or minus, what's 36 and 24? 60 divided by 6. Can I break up 60? Sure can. 4 and 15. So this becomes 2. So 6 plus or minus 2 root 15 over 6. What happens here?
Split it.
I would split it. 6 over 6 plus or minus 2 radical 15 over 6. 6 divided by 6 becomes 1 plus or minus root 15 over 3. If you get to that point, perfectly fine. On a test, I would ask you to write 1 plus root 15 over 3 comma 0 and 1 minus root 15 over 3 comma 0. But if you get here, you should be able to pick out the correct answer. Does that make sense? You guys okay? Yeah? All right, I'm going to upload this video. So the two things I think you should really focus on is the review video that I did for the seniors, which I also did with you guys, and this review video. You have all of those problems and all of the solutions already worked out on modules. So give it a gander.